It really was, and I'm glad. Like, there's a moment where there's a character telling you exactly everything you need to know about these predators, but it's like, okay, you want to calm down because you're giving me so much exposition. I'm expecting this movie to be like 3 hours now, and it's at that point when you're hearing all that where you're like, okay, for some reason I feel like the movie's starting to slow down.
Yeah.
So as soon as it hits that point, thank God it starts to pick up.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's important to have that rest.
You know why that didn't work for me? Remember Tim Robbins in War of the Worlds?
Yes.
That's exactly what this
Yeah.
felt
You know
like.
what?
Was Tim Robbins in War of the Worlds.
And that's exactly what I thought of when they introduced the Lawrence Fishburne character. Because that's what I had a problem with. I was like, there are some characters that they introduce and then they don't do anything with. Lawrence Fishburne comes in as one of the survivors.
Captain Exposition.
Yeah, exactly. He comes in and starts talking crazy, and even though he is there for nothing but exposition because you don't see him for very long in the movie. He comes in, acts crazy, which I thought he did very well.
Sure.
Just like
he's
Tim
Lawrence
Robbins.
Fishburne.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
he is crazy. He was Cowboy Curtis.
He took the wrong color pill, clearly.
Yeah,
But I always wondered what happened to Cowboy Curtis. I guess the predators kidnapped him. and
They
threw him
kidnapped
on a
him.
planet.
A cowboy.
Yeah,
He
and
should
with
be
his
great to hunt.
awesome cowboy skills, he managed to survive.
yeah, but they use him to very little effect. I mean, he makes a strong intro. He's like, "I'm the one that survived. I'm the one you don't fuck with." And like, well, you ain't doing nothing but talking, man.
How'd you get so fat?
Yeah. What were you eating there?
He was eating predators.
Yeah, he's up there talking to his imaginary friend and everything.
What are you?
If I can hear you, they can too. Storm coming soon. This way.
Wait. Who are you?
I'm the one that got away.
And I really thought they could have done a lot more with that character, and they didn't. For all the bravado that he came on with, the bravado he came on with, they do nothing with him. And I feel like that's the case with a lot of characters. Each one of these characters kind of gets their time to shine.
Yeah.
But it's very quick, and at that point, you don't know anything about them except like, oh, I can do this one badass thing.
Well, also, even though, as much as I enjoyed this film, I have to admit that, trying to live up to the first Predator is hard because, number one, every line in that goddamn movie is incredibly quotable. And number two is that the action scenes are fucking just badass. I mean, for lack of a better word, they're just amazing. Even in the first movie where they're tearing down the forest, just shooting at nothing, that's like a great fucking scene. That is like an epic scene. And the only problem that I had with this film is that there were no real scenes that really like just really sucked me in.
This movie kind of suffered from what a lot of movies do when they respect the movie that they're having a sequel to that they really love, which is that they harken back too much to that original. I mean, there are things in here that are taken right out of the first Predator.
Oh, yeah.
The Gatling gun. We still have the jungle that kind of looks the same. And
the scene at the end with the Yakuza, the character who pulls out his sword, it reminded me of a scene with the Billy character.
It's very referential to that.
Oh yeah, there's so many things that they don't exactly mimic, but they try to make their own version of, but it's still recognizable from the first. And
that didn't bug me. What bugged me was that they kept having references to films that you were like, why is this even in here?
Like they reference Aliens.
And they reference fucking Scarface. I was like, why are you referencing Scarface?
Wait, where was the Scarface?
When he says, say goodbye to my little friend.
Say goodbye to your little friend.
I was like, wait, what?
It's like,
why was that there?
But that didn't bother me. It didn't make me go.
No, but it took me out of it. I was like, I really was expecting at some point, because it just felt like the right thing to do in this movie for someone to say, come with me if you want to live at some point. Because they were so grabbing at anything from that era of like famous action movie lines. It was a little like, is this the MTV Movie Awards parody of Predator, or is this the actual movie?
Yeah, nobody should ever use that line, say hello to my little friend, ever again.
In any sort of a good changed version or anything.
If you use that line, then somebody dressed like Scarface should come in and shoot you with a rocket launcher.
I agree. Even as a joke.
Or that's until they, kidnap Tony Montana and fucking put him on that planet. That'd be badass. I would watch that movie, Scarface vs. Predator.
And then that's the only time you can use that line. Is they put Tony Montana on the Predator. And even before he finished that line, blow his ass up.
You know what? That title, Scarface versus Predator, sounds like either a real action movie or a rap battle.
It's gonna be a real movie. I'm gonna direct it. All right.
It's the Marvel versus Capcom video game. People will do that. I wouldn't mind that scene if it switched to the Predator and his view and the little translator Stranger Thing, and he just goes, hello, and then blows him up.
But you know, man,
The last thing I want to hear is Predator mimicking fucking Scarface. Say
hello to my little friend.
I don't want to hear that.
yeah, I'd rather him say some shit from Fat Albert or something.
Which, speaking of that, I'll say one of the creepiest points in this movie was the part where they really used that whole voice modulation, the voice copying thing to great effect.
Yeah, that
The
was
only
cool
bad
scene.
part is, man, can we see Danny Trejo in a film for more than 15 minutes before you get rid of him? I love that
Wait
guy.
till
wait till
Machete
Machete.
comes out in another 5 years.
Machete will be his big comeback.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought
He's
him-
almost 60, for God's sakes. He doesn't have much
Hey
time.
man, that guy's role in life is to die on film.
Yeah.
Why do you want to take that away from him?
I mean,
That's his legacy.
Well, I just thought that him and Robert Rodriguez were tight. You know, Robert Rodriguez got his name all over this movie, and I guess maybe Danny Trejo is just like, look, man, I got about 5 minutes. You got to kill me.
Hey, maybe with the divorce with his wife, he chose the wife.
But, you know, another thing that goes back to the first movie, I think this movie tried to have too hard of a tie-in with the first film. That what's this chick's name in this movie? Alice Braga, who plays Isabel in the film. She's the only chick in the film, by the way, unless one of those predators are a chick. You can't really tell. But
Yeah.
she gives this whole backstory of how she recognizes the predators, and it goes back to the first film. Like, man, that's a little bit of a stretch.
See, really,
Really?
honestly, I actually like that. I actually
Yeah.
thought that made a lot of sense, only because, like, in part 2, there's no reference to these aliens or to the Predator at all. To where this one, it made sense, because it's like, yeah, at the end of Predator, you see Schwarzenegger survive, and I'm like, well, it would have been interesting to hear somewhat of what happened, or maybe the government at least knows about
Yeah,
these
he's a
things at some
military
point.
guy. It
Yeah.
would have stayed in the reports. It would
Yeah.
be
I mean-
well known by a certain circle of people in the military.
It can't win with you. It's like if they hadn't brought it up, you'd have been like, oh yeah, they have predators on Earth, but somehow nobody knows about it.
No, I wouldn't have. I would have been like, they're stealthy enough to not let anybody know who they are, which is why they keep coming back and
Well,
kidnapping
there were at
people.
least 2 encounters that we're willing to acknowledge. It's fine if somebody says like, yes, we do know about
Oh,
these
no,
things.
because I'm convinced at the end of Predator, they locked Schwarzenegger up and injected his ass with some silly serum. He's crazy in a nut house somewhere.
Well, no, you have to also think, too, there were 2 survivors at the end of Predator. It was Schwarzenegger and that chick.
They killed her. But Schwarzenegger's in a Benz where it has a mouth like a spider, and it has dreadlocks. He's crazy.
He was only leading into doing a
was on
Schwarzenegger impression.
I was on a big roller coaster ride with this Predator. That's the name. I trademarked that, Predator.
But no, don't get me wrong, man. I really enjoyed this film. I mean, like I said, to me, it is the natural sequel. I don't even that all of the others. I say forget about it. This is the true sequel to that. Nimrod Atal. I think Robert Rodriguez was very smart in getting somebody else to direct this. Not that I think he's like that bad of a director, but the way he directs, man, he's so. I don't know, he's just so crazy with his editing.
It could have been over the top.
It could have
really
been. It could have been a little over the top. I think he probably knew like this story deserves a little, because I will tell you this much: I don't think that these characters had the best lines. I think some of them were funny, some of them were really bad though. But I think Nimrod Atal. Why the fuck is his name Nimrod? I know we keep saying that.
You feel
Is he
like
Israeli?
You feel like you're saying it wrong.
You're in Hollywood now. Everyone changes their names. Do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was he like? Some god kid or something? He's gonna call me Nimrod.
I want to know more about his past in the Predator.
Yeah, exactly. Where'd you get that name from? Fuck these predators.
Yeah, you see him and he is a predator.
Well, I got it because but no, he knows how to direct actors, I think, and I think that's a lot of the performances in here. To like be able to say these lines seriously and say them somewhat convincing was pretty cool.
And that's the thing. A lot of lines where I figured it would get too corny, he actually managed to, get a decent performance out of these actors by them saying these lines. Because, when you think back, if you were to read the script to yourself, you'd be like, okay, this is ridiculous. But even when Lawrence Fishburne pops up, I was just like, oh, please, man, I hope they don't let this guy just go fucking apeshit nuts with his character, because I'm waiting for it to get so corny that the audience starts laughing and it pulls immediately out of the movie. But thank God they know how to just tone it down enough to where it doesn't get to that ridiculous level. And the other thing is that I thought he really did, as far as trying to do a Predator film, I like the director didn't go over the top with it. He didn't make the weapons like a whole nother star, which Part 2 did, where the weapons are more interesting than the Predator himself.